Look around you, at the ceiling above your head, at the floor beneath your feet, at the window looking out onto a street you call home. Now, I want you to ask yourself one question and be honest with the answer. Do you own any of it? Or are you just living in it, working in it, struggling in it, paying for the privilege to exist in a city that treats you like a tenant in your own life? They have sold us a story about this place, a story of scarcity, a story of limits, a story that says this is just the way it is and we should be grateful for what we get. But what if that story is a lie? What if the crisis isn't a crisis, but a crime scene? And what if the evidence is in your rent receipt, your Metro card, your child's crowded classroom? For the next few minutes, we are going to do something dangerous. We are going to tear down that lie brick by brick. We are going to follow the money that vanished from your pocket. We are going to name the thieves and we are going to reclaim what is ours. This isn't just a speech. This is a reckoning. And by the end of it, you will never see this city the same way again. The first keynote, the illusion of scarcity, is the foundational lie upon which the entire political and economic logic of modern New York is built. It is a powerful, pervasive narrative that insists the city's failures, the crumbling public housing, the delayed trains, the overcrowded classrooms, are inevitable outcomes of limited resources. We are told constantly that there is simply not enough money to go around, forcing us into a state of perpetual triage where we must accept the degradation of public goods as a simple fact of life. This narrative is not merely an observation. It is a political weapon designed to lower our expectations, to make us compliant, and to frame any demand for a better life as fiscally irresponsible or naive. It forces us into a defensive posture, fighting each other for a larger piece of a supposedly shrinking pie, while the real story of the city's wealth is hidden in plain sight. The truth is that New York is not a poor city. It is an engine of immense wealth generation, home to some of the most profitable corporations and wealthiest individuals on the planet. The crisis is not one of scarcity, but of allocation, a deliberate and systematic choice to divert public resources into private hands. The money exists. We see it materialize instantly for a billionaire's stadium subsidy, for a massive tax abatement, for a luxury skyscraper, for an ever-expanding police budget, and for corporate bailouts. The scarcity is manufactured, a carefully maintained fiction that justifies austerity for the many and abundance for the few. The fight, therefore, is not about finding more money, but about stopping the hemorrhage of the money we already have. It is about challenging the logic that says a hedge fund's profit margin is a sacred, inviolable right, while a child's right to a quality education or a family's right to a stable home is a negotiable expense. By shattering this illusion, we reframe the entire political debate. The question is no longer what can we afford, but who do we serve? The conflict is not between competing public needs, but between the public good and private greed. It is a call to stop begging for a more efficient management of our own poverty and to start demanding the redirection of the vast wealth we create back into the communities and public infrastructures from which it was extracted. The second keynote, naming the theft, is the act of forensic political storytelling. It moves beyond the vague sentiment that the system is unfair and provides a concrete accusatory ledger of where the public's wealth has gone. The dominant narrative paints a picture of a city government as a prudent but cash-strapped household forced to make difficult but necessary cutbacks. Naming the theft shatters this metaphor by revealing the city budget not as a limited family income, but as a crime scene where a massive ongoing transfer of wealth is taking place. It demands we stop using the passive voice of there's no money and start using the active voice of they took the money. This reframing is crucial because it identifies a culprit and an action, transforming a situation of perceived natural scarcity into one of deliberate human plunder. It forces a confrontation with the mechanisms of extraction, the 421A tax abatements that starve our schools of billions to subsidize luxury condos that none of us can afford, the corporate subsidies handed out like candy to massive, profitable companies in the name of job creation that never materializes for our communities, the pilots' payments in lieu of taxes that are a fraction of what is owed, the bloated contracts handed to consultants and private contractors for public works, which inflate costs and drain public coffers while delivering subpar results. This isn't an abstract economic discussion. It is an inventory of missing resources. Every pothole, every closed library branch, every overcrowded classroom is not an isolated tragedy, but a direct consequence of a political choice to redirect funds by naming these specific policies and the specific actors who benefit from them. The speech makes the theft tangible and personal. It answers the question, if the money is there, where did it go? With a list of addresses, it went to the developer's bank account, the corporate headquarters, the private equity firm. This shifts the public's anger from a general sense of frustration to a targeted righteous fury. It proves that our collective poverty is not an accident of fate, but the intended outcome of a system designed to enrich the few by impoverishing the many, and in doing so, it provides the moral and factual foundation for the demands to get it all back. The third keynote, the weaponization of common sense, targets the linguistic and ideological fortress that protects the status quo from critique. It recognizes that outright force is often inefficient for maintaining control. A more potent method is to shape the very boundaries of what is considered reasonable, possible, or even thinkable. The phrases fiscal responsibility, economic reality, and pragmatic solutions are not neutral descriptions of the world, but carefully crafted political slogans. They are deployed as conversation enders, designed to make radical ideas seem childish and the grim reality of inequality seem like the natural order. This manufactured common sense is a form of gaslighting on a societal scale. It tells us that while we may desire safe housing or reliable transit, the responsible thing to do is to accept their gradual decay. It frames a multi-billion-dollar police budget as an unchangeable fact of life, while a proposal for free city college is subjected to a brutal inquisition over its cost. This is not a debate of ideas on a level playing field. It is a rigged game where the rules themselves are designed to ensure our defeat. The purpose of this weaponized language is to disarm and demoralize. It makes us complicit in our own disempowerment by convincing us that demanding fundamental change is unrealistic, thereby ensuring we never mobilize the collective power required to achieve it. To challenge this is to engage in ideological war. It means reclaiming language and redefining what is sensible. It means arguing that the true insanity is accepting that a human being can be homeless. The real fiscal irresponsibility is pouring public wealth into private hands. The actual pragmatism is building a world where people's needs are met, because the alternative is perpetual crisis and suffering. By exposing this weaponized common sense as a political construct, we shatter its power. We free ourselves from the confines of a debate that was designed to make us lose. And we begin to build a new, genuine common sense, one rooted not in the interests of capital, but in the needs of human beings. The fourth keynote, a conflict of interests, not a deficit of ideas, fundamentally reframes the nature of the political struggle. It rejects the comforting but deceptive notion that our city's crises persist due to a lack of clever policy proposals or technical expertise. This narrative suggests that if only we had smarter people in the room or a more innovative blueprint, we could solve problems like homelessness or transit decay. This perspective is not just optimistic, it is a profound misdiagnosis that leads to endless, fruitless debates over minutia, while the underlying power dynamics remain untouched. The truth is that the solutions are not only known, they are glaringly obvious. We know how to build affordable housing. We know how to run an efficient free transit system. We know how to fund schools amply. The barrier is not intellectual, it is political. For every one of these solutions, there is a powerful entrenched interest that profits directly from the problem of real estate developers. Profit margin is a direct function of housing scarcity. A Wall Street bondholder's revenue stream is dependent on a transit system buried in debt. A private management consultant's multi-million-dollar city contract relies on the myth that public servants cannot manage public goods. These groups are not misguided. They are rationally and ruthlessly pursuing their own economic advantage, which is diametrically opposed to the public good. To frame this as a debate over ideas is to pretend we are in an academic seminar. We are not. We are in a fight presenting another white paper on affordable housing to a politician funded by the real estate industry is like presenting a study on vegetarianism to a lion. It misunderstands the fundamental nature of the beast. The conflict is not over which idea is better, but over whose interests will be served. By shifting the focus from a deficit of ideas to a conflict of interests, the speech cuts through the procedural fog and identifies the real adversaries. It forces a simple clarifying question. When a politician votes against a tenant protection bill or for a corporate subsidy, whose side are they on? This moves the terrain of battle from the realm of technical debate to the realm of raw political power, where the only currency that matters is organized people confronting organized money. It declares that we will no longer try to out-argue our opponents in a system they designed, but will instead build the power to out-organize and defeat them. The fifth keynote, the necessity of specific, tangible demands, is the crucial bridge that connects a powerful systemic critique to the material reality of people's lives. A radical analysis that remains in the abstract is ultimately a political dead end. It can diagnose the illness with stunning clarity, but offers no prescription for a cure, leaving the audience enlightened yet paralyzed. To avoid this, the speech must ground its sweeping indictment of the system in concrete, winnable policy goals that are immediately understandable and viscerally felt by the ordinary person. Demands like universal rent control, a city-owned public bank, or the reallocation of funds from policing to social goods are not mere items on a wish list. They are strategic tools that serve multiple purposes. Firstly, they make the abstract concept of theft or conflict tangible. It is one thing to speak of wealth extraction. It is another to point to a specific law, like the 421, a tax abatement, and demand its repeal, showing exactly where the money is going and how we can get it back. Secondly, these demands are educative. The fight for a city-owned public bank, for instance, is not just about creating a new institution. It is a living classroom where people learn how finance capital works, how the current banking system exploits the city, and how we can build democratic alternatives. Thirdly, and most importantly, these demands are the building blocks of political power. A winnable demand creates a clear objective around which people can organize, rally, and measure their success. Winning a concrete victory, no matter how initially small, shatters the myth of inevitability and demonstrates the potency of collective action. It proves that the forces we are told are immutable can indeed be bent to the public. Will this process transforms people from passive observers of a crisis into active agents of its solution. It moves the struggle from a war of words to a war of positions over real resources and policy, creating a clear, actionable path from the present misery to a future where the city's wealth is harnessed for the many, not the few. The sixth and final keynote, a call to claim power, not just protest, represents the ultimate strategic shift from resistance to governance. It recognizes that expressing outrage, while necessary, is an insufficient endgame. Marches, rallies, and vocal opposition are vital tactics for applying pressure and building morale, but they are not in themselves a plan for victory. If the analysis is correct that our crises stem from a fundamental imbalance of power, where the interests of a few consistently override the needs of the many, then the only logical conclusion is that the objective must be to seize that power and wield it differently. This final note moves the audience from the posture of the petitioner, who begs those in authority for concessions, to the posture of the sovereign, who possesses the authority itself. It is a declaration that we will no longer merely demand that the city government listen to us. We intend to become the city government, not just in elected office, but through the organized force of our communities, our unions, and our neighborhoods. This is about building a counterpower so formidable that it can no longer be ignored, co-opted, or placated with minor reforms. The call is to build institutions of popular power that can draft legislation, run candidates, hold officials accountable, and ultimately administer the resources of the city for the public good. This transforms the struggle from a series of reactive battles into a proactive project of building a new world within the shell of the old. It answers the question, what comes after the protest? With a clear and formidable vision, we go from disrupting the machinery of injustice to taking control of the levers of public wealth and policy. We stop trying to influence the players and start changing the game itself, building the collective capacity to not just imagine a city that works for all, but to actually design, fund, and govern it. This final call is what separates a momentary shock to the system from a lasting transformation, grounding the energy of anger in the enduring, patient work of building democratic power until we are no longer a voice in the crowd, but the authors of our collective destiny. So let us be clear about what we do next. We do not leave this room simply angry. We do not leave simply resolved. We leave organized. We leave with a purpose etched into our tomorrows. The analysis is complete. The theft has been named. The lies exposed. The conflict laid bare. Now comes the work of reclamation. This means joining a tenant union this week. It means packing a community board meeting next month. It means organizing your workplace, your block, your classroom. It means demanding our people run for office and then holding their feet to the fire when they win. We will build a power so deep and so wide that it becomes the new common sense of this city, the undeniable understanding that New York belongs to the people who call it home. Thank you for the fire in your hearts and the resolve in your eyes. That is the raw material of our new city. Now, let's go build it. Good luck and get to work.